This story tells how a portal from a dungeon appeared in the sky more than 100 years ago. From this portal came monsters that could not be defeated by conventional weapons. The only ones who could fight these monsters were people who had supernatural abilities at the same time as the monsters appeared. It was a cohort of chosen awakened warriors who made the world stable again. While monsters, mana, and a new civilization were emerging, some of the heroes became hunters whose task was to destroy these demons. But decades later, there were too many hunters. As soon as the secret mechanism was revealed, it became possible to artificially awaken people, and anyone with money could take advantage of it. Of course, the number of people willing to become hunters immediately began to increase. Everyone wanted to become heroes. It was then that the great era of hunters flourished, and even the weakest of people became powerful warriors. Thanks to this, problems began, and the government introduced a professional exam, and only after passing it could one become a hunter. Educational institutions immediately appeared to prepare for this exam, teaching all the theories and training students. After that, special universities even appeared to train future professionals. Such universities were called hunter mice, and they could teach you how to defeat even a giant dragon. Becoming a hunter has become the dream of millions of young boys and girls around the world. But in order to master all this knowledge and become a professional, you need to undergo full training. Those who studied and trained hard did not miss classes and were disciplined to achieve their cherished goal. They successfully passed the exam and became professional demon hunters. They were trained by experienced masters, and then they could travel around the universe and restore balance. This story will tell us about one of the young guys who succeeded. He is a 27-year-old guy named Kim who is awakened because he was born with more powers than others. But to pay off the debts of his parents who died in a car accident, he has been transporting dead monsters for 9 years. There's only one thing that helps him to withstand such hard work and mental pressure due to debts. It is his goal to become a professional hunter, and he has been dreaming about it since childhood. He has been looking for a good academy for a long time, but he has too little money to pay for it. In the past, all those who were born awakened immediately became hunters. But now they have to pass an exam. The professors at the university are real professionals. They share their experience and give you the knowledge you need to become a hunter. This is why a huge gap has appeared between those who graduated from the academy and ordinary people. The time has come when to become a hunter, you have to go to university and pass an exam. Kim recently received $40,000, and now he has enough money for a year of studying at the academy. Of course, you need to choose a university that is not too expensive, but something more suitable. He saw an advertisement for the Cultivators Academy, and he had never heard of it before. The academy promised to provide students with experience and knowledge. Talked about individual tasks for each student and future prospects. There were also a lot of comments from students who had completed the training and achieved incredible results. All this beautiful wrapping caught the interest of a young man who had long dreamed of something like this. The website looked like all the others, but the guy was worried because he had never heard of this academy before. He started looking at photos of professors with funny names, and he didn't like what he saw. Kim also watched a few training videos on the website and wondered if it was a real academy. This video shows a basic dispel technique using a magic staff. What he saw seemed impossible to him. It wasn't some kind of Kim knew a lot about the training of future hunters, so he was not easy to fool. After that, he saw on the website that the upcoming lesson would be taught by an experienced master. The guy tried to sign up for this lesson and was told that it costs money. After taking a closer look, he realized that the full course of this academy would cost him all his money. One of his assistants at work saw that Kim was in a good mood and asked what was wrong. The guy said that he decided to start studying at an academy called Kof. According to him, he had long been tired of transporting monsters, and he confidently decided to change his life. He said goodbye to his assistant and said he had to go home. Someone once said that life seems like a comedy when viewed from a distance, but a tragedy when viewed up close. As Kim passed over the huge monster, the platform holding it snapped and fell. The guy was terribly wounded and realized that in order to laugh sincerely, he had to accept his pain. The doctor explained that he had nerve necrosis in his legs, all due to rapid regeneration because he was awake. His boss at work refused to pay compensation and said that Kim was to blame for everything. According to the doctors, the operation will cost $40,000, and it must be done urgently before the nerves permanently fuse with the bones. Kim began to learn to look to the future while enduring this hellish pain for 9 years. All his savings that he had been saving for all these years were spent on the operation. He had almost nothing left. The guy was incredibly upset and unsure that he would be able to repeat his journey again. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the phone and saw that Kof Academy was offering a free pass in honor of the anniversary. At first, he could not believe his eyes. It seemed like a miracle that could not happen to him. He was told that after the free lesson, because of his special situation, a year of tuition would cost only $3,000. If he collects everything he has left and borrows a small amount from his friends, he can raise the necessary amount. He realized that such a chance comes only once in a lifetime. So he had to try. As soon as he paid for the tuition, his phone started ringing loudly, and the Arc Academy congratulated him on entering their university. What happened next was hard to explain. A small person appeared from his phone. It was a little boy. He said hello to Kim and told him that he would be his new mentor at school. Kim didn't like this very much, thinking that it was unlikely that a little boy would be able to teach him anything. But the mentor looked confident and asked the boy not to worry about anything. Kim thought it was strange that his mentor's name was Mentor. Was it a joke? The mentor replied that there was nothing funny about it. He also told us that he was the teacher of Odysseus, a hero of Greek mythology, who was his first student. It's been a long time since Odysseus became a cultivator, but he still comes to the academy sometimes. Kim decided to ask what was the difference between a hunter and a cultivator academy. The mentor explained that they cannot be compared at all because they're on completely different levels. According to him, their teachers can destroy hunters with just one finger. He asked Kim to fill out an initial questionnaire for new students to understand what kind of cultivator he wanted to become. It will also help you to understand the entry level and prepare a personal strategy for learning. The mentor asked the boy to answer as honestly as possible and not to lie. The mentor said he would teach the boy how to destroy mountains with a single punch. The guy did not quite understand whether it was really possible, but decided to believe him. The mentor also said that one should not be afraid of studying because the academy never expels its students, and those who become members of the academy will remain members forever. Kim continued to answer questions. It took a long time. The mentor said that they would analyze his profile and draw up a curriculum for the first time. He immediately realized that Kim's best method of fighting was with a spear. For mastering the spear technique, it is better to use the Oriental coup technique instead of mana. The mentor also saw that in addition to physical injuries, the guy had mental problems. Because of this, Akeem must learn his study from the lectures of Professor Buddha. Thanks to his lectures on psychology, he's one of the most famous professors and his subject is required for the cultivator's exam. Usually, you need a lot of money to watch his lectures, but today is Kim's lucky day. The mentor also said that after this lesson, Kim would receive the title of Steadfast Heart. Even if it seems like Kim is losing her mind while watching the lecture, you should still watch the video to the end. The mentor said goodbye to the guy and said that he would come back later to analyze his profile. Kim calmed down a bit and decided not to postpone the lecture for later and start watching right away. He turned on a video and began to listen carefully to what the Buddha was saying, no matter how ridiculous it looked. At first, he thought the professor looked like a living golden statue. Buddha explained that the word I did not exist, so he did not exist. He continued to say various incomprehensible phrases as if he had taken illegal drugs. Kim immediately recalled how his mentor had wished him good luck, probably meaning that this lecture would be very difficult. The Buddha did not stop talking about how the world and the universe are created at the moment a person is born and will perish when a person dies. He said that he was really Kim and that the world was just a figment of the imagination, like a drunk professor. The guy watched only 1% of the entire lecture, and he thought he had lost his mind. A week later, a doctor congratulated him and said that thanks to the amazing speed of his recovery, Kim had completely cured his injury. Although he had previously treated awakened people, this was the first time in his 30 years of work that he had seen such regeneration. Kim was pleased. He hadn't dreamed it. He had only completed 2% of the lecture, but the effect was already incredible. Thanks to this Buddha's lesson, his heart calmed down, and this accelerated the speed of his body's recovery. He wondered what would happen when he finished listening to this lecture. The doctor suggested that he spend a few more weeks in the hospital, and without hesitation, he agreed. He also decided to start watching Professor Karen's lecture, which was a rather low rank compared to Steadfast Heart. But it didn't matter. He started watching Karen's lecture, hoping that through his experience, he would learn more about body cultivation. This professor is a centaur, a creature with a human torso and the lower body of a horse. He was a teacher of almost every hero of Greek mythology and prepared students for the stage from which they could move to the early levels of cultivation. The professor said that in the initial lecture, combat techniques would not be the most important topic. The boy was happy and excited to watch the professor. This lecture was already much more interesting than the psychology lessons from Buddha. Suddenly, Corona called Kim a little rascal and ordered him to get up and move quickly. Not realizing what was happening, the boy was frightened and began to fulfill the will of his professor. The next morning came, and Kim woke up to the sound of a message on his phone. This message from the academy said that he had received a new task for today, which was various physical exercises. He recalled how his doctor asked him to take it easy for the next few weeks. It looks like Doc will be unhappy. Kim thought he didn't have to do these tasks, but decided to just listen to the lectures while he was in the hospital. He wanted to turn on a new lesson, but he got a message that he couldn't do it until the daily task was completed. The guy quickly realized that trickery would not help him, and he would have to work hard. Kim said that a week would not solve anything, so he had better fully recover his strength. He wanted to watch Professor Bud's lecture and saw that the free pass would expire in 83 days. Now, he realized that admission to lectures is temporary. After all, this is a full-fledged academy, and it is logical that you have to pay for it. If there are only 83 days left, then at the beginning he had 90 days. Kim didn't understand how the academy worked, but it seems that in order to make progress, he needs to listen to lectures and reach a new level of understanding. After watching some of the video, he did not see any progress, and it made him angry. The guy watched the Buddha's lecture many times, and his level did not change. He began to doubt that he could complete the course in 83 days. It looks like the free pass is just a trial period, a clever marketing ploy. Remembering that he hadn't worked out for a long time, Kim decided to warm up and develop his physical skills. He recalled how for the past 9 years he had been carrying dead monsters that weighed at least 70 kilograms all day long. Although he does not yet know how to use magic, he is an awakened person and is confident in his physical strength. Compared to my previous job, training on the sports field seemed very easy. After he finished doing the push-ups, he was surprised to see that the system did not credit him for this task. Perhaps there was a glitch in the academy system. So, he decided to repeat the task again. Only later did he realize that he was not performing the exercise perfectly, and that was why the system did not credit this task. So, to graduate from this academy, you need to forget about tricks and work hard. Kim pretended that it was not a problem for him and continued to train, performing the task almost perfectly. The training turned out to be much harder than he expected and lasted for many hours until the evening. When he finished doing all these things, it was already dark and he had no strength left. He was not sure he could continue to train with such intensity every day. A few days later, his grandmother met him in the hospital and said that Kim was getting stronger every day, probably because of the suit. The guy explained that he had started to actively engage in sports and it helped him to restore his health. At that moment, the news broadcast urgent news that at 5 o'clock in the morning, a level 4 impaler had been found in the city. According to rumors, he was sleeping, but the monster transportation service did not know this, so the impaler ended up in the city center. Many of them could have died, but by chance, there was an awakened one nearby who detained the monster. The grandmother in the hospital said that thanks to the hunters, they were saved again. Then she looked at Kim and asked if he was awakened and if he was going to study at the academy. The guy said that he had already started his studies and that maybe in the future he would also be shown on TV. The man sitting next to them looked at Kim with a displeased face. He said that now it is very difficult to become a hunter. The chance is 1 in a million, but it used to be different. He said that Kim was probably not studying at the academy and was only wasting his time training. He would never become a hunter, so it was better to give up right away. He asked the boy not to waste his youth on dreams that will never come true. Kim immediately recalled all his years of hard work for his dream. He got very angry. My grandmother started shouting at the man and called him stupid, and the man replied that he only wanted to help. The man believed that by telling the truth, he was doing a very good thing for Kim. The guy said that he would decide for himself what to do in life and asked not to give him unnecessary advice. The man started shouting and called the boy a snotty little boy with milk on his lips. He also said that adults should be respected, and Kim did not listen to him. So he turned around and walked away. He has already become a student of the Cultivators Academy, and within a week, he felt the effect of the training. The guy is absolutely sure that he will become a professional hunter. That is why no matter what, he will continue to train and pursue his dream. Meanwhile, there were those who were tired of being a professional hunter. Those who thought that there was no point in the academy because of the expensive tuition have almost no students. So, while Kim was dreaming about this profession, there were people who were dying of boredom working as hunters. Soon, the guy realized that he had fully recovered from his injury, and there was no point in staying in the hospital any longer. He was happy to return to his home and was glad to spend the night in his own bed. Although he has a small apartment, he still considers it the best. With 1 more year left before the exam to become a hunter, Kim wondered how much money he had left. He seemed to have almost nothing left. The guy did not understand how to live his life. He also remembered that he had done all his assignments for the day, but forgot to watch the new lectures. He decided to start watching Professor Karen's classes because he was one of his favorite teachers. The professor greeted him and looked at him as a child who was about to take his first serious steps in adulthood. He explained to the boy that the first step in becoming a cultivator is feeling. The next morning, Kim realized he needed to make money and returned to his old job. His boss immediately started yelling at him. saying that if this situation happened again, he would be in big trouble. He did not want to return and had no choice. He had run out of money. If he doesn't work, he won't be able to buy food. While if he works hard, he won't be able to study. Kim also mentioned that if he did not have time to complete his daily tasks, he would not be able to watch the professor's lectures. He faced a serious dilemma and had to make an important choice. The guy recalled the last lecture on sensations and the important role they play in battle. Sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell are the 5 senses that Professor Corona talked about. The teacher promised to teach Kim how to work with these feelings and manifest her hidden capabilities. He said that the boy would be able to learn about something completely different from these 5 senses. It was about the 6th sense that is hidden in a person, intuition. At that moment, his work friend Park approached the guy, greeted Kim, and tried to hit him on the back in a friendly way. Suddenly, something happened that Park did not expect and had never seen before. It was as if Kim's eyes had grown on his back, and he had somehow managed to dodge his hand. Later, they both started working, and the guy again made his friend wonder. This time, Kim demonstrated incredible muscle strength and easily lifted a load several times his size. Everyone around him was surprised by such a rapid change in his behavior. He had just been in the hospital, and now he was demonstrating the power of Captain America. Although their boss tried not to pay much attention to it, Park noticed a change in his friend's behavior. At that moment, Kim felt as if his strength had increased several times, as if his training had not been in vain. He decided to complete his daily task because he wouldn't have time for it after work. The guy was very surprised to see that the system counted one of his squats as 3. The extra weight seems to have increased the effectiveness of the exercise. Kim was pleased and happy in the meantime, so asked him to rest and take a break. He replied that he did not need it and said he could work harder. There is no point in wasting time on exercises if he can train at work. The more weight, the less exercises. The guy was happy until he returned home and felt a terrible pain in his muscles after all the exertion. Combining work and training turned out to be effective, but too hard, and it seems that only a real fool could have come up with this idea. At least he saved time, and that's enough to be satisfied with himself. After checking his profile in the academy, Kim saw that all tasks were completed successfully. He had already listened to several lectures, but he still felt like he was wasting his time. Realizing that repeatedly watching the video did not add to his progress, he decided to sign up for another course. Since he had no money, he started choosing free lecture options. He was offered to watch a lecture by General Bulk to become stronger and more resilient. He is the legendary king of the Western Black Sea, known for his superhuman strength. Since the lecture was completely free, Kim decided to try it. And if he succeeded, he would receive a spear that moves mountains. General Bulk started laughing at him and said that he was a loser who couldn't even lift a spear. Then this majestic warrior said that he would still try to teach Kim the spear technique and the power of the mountain. He told him to start swinging the spear, to feel it with every cell of his body and understand its power. The boy was upset because the professor said only a few sentences and that was the end of the lecture. So Kim started doing these tasks, even though it was already night outside. The next day, a girl came to Kim's workplace to check for live monsters. Her name was Kira. She was a B-class hunter, and she came to personally check this company. The boss said that his company had never had a single accident thanks to safety and caution. Looking at her, Kim thought that she might be the granddaughter of the Star Sword. The Star Sword is a legendary warrior named Bond. 100 years ago, he was one of the awakened ones who received their incredible power at the moment the gates were opened. In those days, almost nothing was known about the awakened. The monsters were cruel and could easily kill people in the streets. It was a difficult time, and humanity was not sure that it would survive. When there was almost no hope left, a cohort of special warriors came to help humanity. Bond was one of the first awakened ones who saved hundreds of lives with his Star Sword. He helped the human race survive and wrote his name in golden letters in history. Many years have passed since that glorious time, and Bond has become an old and experienced master. But despite the fact that he is no longer young, the Star Sword can still show his skills and compete with anyone. Kim thought it was none of his business and continued to deal with work-related issues. When Kira saw him squatting with a monster on his back, she asked who he was and why he was doing it. The boss told her that he was a mentally child and it was better to ignore him. At that moment, his friend Pat called him and said he needed urgent help. Kim replied that he would be happy to help as it would speed up the daily tasks at the academy. Park did not understand the point of these exercises and said that the guy would soon injure his back, but he was pleased that thanks to Kim's activity, there was less work. Suddenly, strange things began to happen. The monster the boy brought began to move. Kim was the first to see it and realized it was going to be fun. A few seconds later, This huge demon rose up and began to roar as if it was going to kill everyone around it. Along with the monster, everyone else started screaming, but they did it out of fear. At the same time, Kira was doing everything she could at this enterprise. She was happy that the boss of this company had left her alone. She thought he was an annoying fool. For many people, the star sword is a superhero, but for her, it's a label she can't shake. From an early age, her grandfather taught her how to be a hunter, but the level he demanded was too high for his granddaughter. Her real dream was to teach people and become a teacher, but her grandfather never listened to her. This is why the granddaughter of the Star Sword cannot live a normal life. Soon, she and her grandfather agreed that she would open her own academy and start teaching. Because of her surname, everyone around her believed that they would be taught by a real Star Sword. But as soon as it turned out that my grandfather would not be a professor at this academy, everyone immediately lost interest. They wanted the legendary Bond Warrior, not a young girl they had never heard of. Those who stayed later also left the academy because of Bond's threats. Now no one knows about this academy, and Kira dreams of at least one student. While she was thinking about it, the workers started shouting and ordering her to leave immediately. They told her that one of the monsters was alive and that it would not be easy now. Unfortunately, not everyone managed to escape, and Park was injured and close to death. Kim did not understand why Manticore was found alive, but he was not going to leave his friend. Park asked the boy to leave him and save his own life. Kim realized that he was facing a real monster, but if he ran away, his friend would die. An ordinary person will never defeat a monster, and an awakened one cannot use magic. Manticore is a fourthel demon, and even a professional will have a hard time defeating it. The boy remembered that the granddaughter of the Star Sword was nearby. Maybe she could help. Although, if she doesn't make it, Park will be left without a head. Kim realized that he had no time to think and had to act immediately. Someone has to do something right now, otherwise Park will die. But who? Realizing that no one would come to his rescue, Kim grabbed the nearest stick and started to act. He pretended not to be afraid of the monster and ran straight for it. The guy tried to scare and distract Manticore's attention so that Park could escape. His friend was, of course, happy and afraid that Kim was now in mortal danger. When the boy was left alone with the monster, he realized that he had to hold on and wait for the hunters to arrive. He tried to calm down and not be nervous, even though at that moment he was facing a real demon. Kim recalled everything he had learned at the academy about the basic 5 senses and spear technique. He also recalled the words of Professor Buddha, which helped him calm down a bit. The professor once said that we need to cover the entire universe and understand where it is moving. If the guy manages to do this, his fast beating heart will calm down. Kim decided to trust his new knowledge and put it to the test in the real world. He really managed to calm his heart despite the fact that he was being attacked by a monster. Kim decided to trust his instincts and physical fitness. The time has come when all this grueling training can help him in real life. He completely relied on his feelings and started attacking. He recalled how one of his professors said that monsters have a blind spot. He also thought about the words of General Bulk, who said that victory requires courage and confidence. So to win, you have to believe that you can break a mountain in half and not doubt yourself. Kim realized that he had no choice and had to believe in himself. He concentrated on feelings of power and the ability to break a mountain in half. Strangely enough, it worked. He activated his inner energy and delivered an incredibly powerful blow. The strength of his inner thigh was so significant that it seemed like an atomic bomb had exploded. Kira and other employees did not understand what was happening and what kind of explosion it was. The girl was not afraid and ran forward to see what happened. She ran to the central square and saw the body of a young man in the dust. Soon, everyone realized that Kim had single-handedly destroyed Manticore with his stick. The guy started smiling. He could not even believe that it really worked, and it was not a dream. While the system showed his progress, Kira tried to understand what had happened. Did an ordinary employee of the Enterprise without proper weapons destroy the monster? It seemed unbelievable because he doesn't even study at the academy. Kim wasn't going to talk to the girl about anything even though she was the granddaughter of a Star Sword. He immediately ran to his friend to make sure he was okay. At that moment, the director of the company approached her and said it was an accident. She didn't really listen to him and watched the young man being greeted by his friends. Looking at this, she thought that she had found a really worthwhile student. Soon, the working day ended and all the employees went home. Kim was very pleased to see that his performance improved after today's fight. It seems that defeating Manticore is much more important than listening to lectures. So, practice is the best way to increase progress in the academy. While he was thinking about where to find extra money for his studies, Kira was watching him. She decided not to remain silent and called the boyfriend to talk to him. Kim realized that she was a huntress who worked with their company and remembered that she was the granddaughter of a star sword. The guy didn't understand what she wanted from him, but decided to meet her, and maybe it would turn out to be a useful acquaintance for the future. She decided to get straight to the point and invited him to meet her grandfather, which was really unexpected. The guy looked at her without much emotion and said he wasn't interested, which was really unexpected. She was sure he was bluffing and really interested, but Kim turned around, said goodbye, and walked away. Kira decided not to give up and invited him to join her own cultivator training academy. Kim didn't understand why he had to do it. There were no students in this academy. Was it a joke? In her entire life, she has never seen anything like this, and this guy might be really special. She remembered all his strange training and how he had destroyed a level 4 monster. The girl said that her academy had everything he needed. She would give him a new uniform and personally train him. The boy kept refusing, so she decided to offer him to take some lessons from her grandfather. She knew that all hunters dreamed of learning from the Star Sword, but Kim calmly replied that he was not interested. She was not going to let him go so easily and kept trying to convince him that he was wasting his time. Kira also told him that they had received a license, and if he agreed, he would be able to go into the dungeon tomorrow. If he doesn't need teachers that much, she can let him be and give him some time to train on his own. But her key argument was that it would be completely free. Strangely enough, this is what interested the guy. He thought that free cheese is only in a mousetrap. The girl said that until he became a professional hunter, he would compete for her academy in competitions. Kim realized that this was a very favorable offer, and he could solve all his problems. The girl said she chose him because she saw the incredible potential to become a legendary warrior. This touched him a little. He smiled and thought that he had never heard such words. So, he decided to agree, said his name, and shook the girl's hand. He returned home and rested until the next morning when he received a phone call. It was one of the employees. He started shouting at the guy and said that he was the reason why the director of the company was fired. Kim recalled how yesterday he asked Kier to get the director fired because he didn't like him. But he told his friend that he had nothing to do with it and was sure that the director had quit because of yesterday's situation. On the way to the Hunter Academy, he met Kier on his way, and the girl smiled and said hello. It was obvious that she was happy to see him, and Kira took a temporary license for Kim out of her pocket. He thanked her, although he doubted that she could really do it all in one night. Although he has not yet become a professional hunter, he has already taken the first step towards his dream. He believed that this was only the beginning and asked Kira to tell him how to go on raids. He was surprised when the girl started laughing and said that it was not necessary at the moment. She told him that she had prepared weapons for him. He should choose what he liked and go to the dungeon. She said she had already signed a contract, and they could travel together through the portal. Kim was not very happy. He reminded her that she had promised not to interfere with his training. She replied that she could not leave the only student of the academy unattended, especially one so talented. Since it is his first time in the dungeon, he needs help because there are not only kobolds around. Kobolds are second-level monsters, ideal for training beginners without combat experience. Fortunately, Kim can easily pierce their magic armor, just like in the battle with Manticore. Suddenly, he bent down sharply because he felt a kobold attack, and even Kira didn't see it in time. The guy was surprised. He easily destroyed the opponent and did not understand why his attacks were so effective. After that, he looked at his phone and saw his progress in some disciplines growing step by step. Of course, not as fast as after the assassination of Manticore, but still not bad progress. Kim thought that he could make good money in the dungeon, so he looked at the girl and said that he had to hurry up. He ran forward to destroy the monsters as if he were farming experience in a video game. Kira immediately realized that something was wrong with this guy, and now she was scared. What is this fool doing? Ever since they returned to the dungeon, he has been looking at his phone, which is turned off. But the worst part is that the strange things are only just beginning. A newcomer who first came to the dungeon destroys kobolds like a trained professional. He also constantly does strange exercises with dead monsters. Maybe he has some kind of mental disorder. Kira was worried that she couldn't take it anymore, that she couldn't hide the fact that she had a student from her grandfather anymore. The girl doubted whether she had made the right choice. Kim is a very talented and strange guy at the same time. Meanwhile, the student was happy. He could not even guess that he could earn real money for completing daily tasks. Of course, this required a lot of work. It was not easy, but his activity was not in vain. But the problem was that it took too much time and effort, and he didn't even have time to listen to the lectures during the day. He began to think about how to spend the money he earned, whether to continue saving or to buy something for himself. While training in the dungeon, he earns money and increases his level, but everything goes slower than he expected. He wondered if there was a quick way to become stronger and reach the level of the great celestial warriors. On his way home, he decided to use the money he had saved to buy access to new lectures. He had no money before, so he even forgot that there were paid lessons. But it was not so simple, because the lectures by experienced masters cost more than $2 million. It's an incredible amount of money. Even C-class hunters can't earn that much. He thought that this was not the most important thing, and if he did not have money for lectures, he could buy a new uniform. He went to the academy store to look at the training uniforms for the hunters. He saw a lot of interesting things there, including Bupon's elixir, Aegis shield, and even Legina's spear. Even if they are fakes, they are still legendary things. It's strange that they are called a training uniform. Even a beginner will realize that this is something incredible. Who would have thought that you could get legendary weapons and level up so easily? The next day, he was met by Kira, who was again surprised by what he was doing. As it turned out, Legina's spear is very expensive, so Kim now has to train even harder. He doesn't understand where he's going to get that much money and has nothing better to do than continue training. Again, it was all about money, and it was very upsetting for the guy who wanted to become a professional. Kira approached him and invited him to participate in a competition between MIs. These competitions take place every year, and each cultivator academy wants to show that it is better than the others. Now, their academy is at the 4th level, and if you perform well in competitions, you can raise your level. The higher the level, the better the academy and the more support it will receive from the state. The best students are sent to these competitions, which is why Kira wants Kim to take part in it as well. He immediately wondered whether the results of the competition would affect his progress in his lectures. He understands that competition is practice, so it sounded good, so he agreed. The girl said that as far as she knows, the winner is the one who gets the most points for the raid and duel. Kim started to get a little worried because all his combat experience was defeating kobolds and Manticore. Did he think that maybe someone would agree to train with him before the competition? Then he looked at Kerr and realized that he was the perfect candidate to help him. He started laughing at the girl and said that she could not refuse a newcomer. Kira is a B-class hunter, not the pinnacle of the pinnacle, but she was trained by a star sword. He was very happy that she would be able to help him, and he had long wanted to see what she could do. Kim said he was just a newcomer to the field, so she shouldn't attack him too much. The girl agreed and said that as soon as he was ready, he could be the first to start the attack. Kim believed that such an offer could not be refused and thought that it was okay to beat the girls if it was training. He wanted to show his best side, and his movements were fast but very careless. Kira could easily see the beginnings of his attacks, so she dodged and struck back. At that moment, she thought that she had overestimated his capabilities. He was a beginner and a beginner in Africa. She didn't understand how he got the confidence that he could defeat her. She decided to finish this training and destroy Kim. But something unexpected happened. Somehow, he managed to defend himself from her hellish sword blow. She didn't understand how this newcomer could hold back her CI energy. He held back her blow with magic, but the weapon had to jump out of his hands. At that moment, she began to realize that this guy was actually as simple as he seemed. Kim felt the power in his body and realized that he could use it. That's why he told the girl that he would now fight 100% and show her his true strength. The girl immediately felt that his movements had changed. His attacks were clearer and faster, as if a different person was fighting her. He felt that he had to start with the obvious attacks, and then add feints that would distract Kira. If it can assess the situation, it will change its tactics. So you can't stand there like a tree and be attacked. A real Mortal Kombat began in which there was no favorite with Kev trying to attack, and Kira defending herself. She defended herself because she felt that the boy had changed, as if a professional hunter had awakened inside him. The spear became a deadly weapon in his hands, and in this short time, he mastered the art of combat at the highest level. He repeated various distractions in order to wait for Kira to let her guard down. As soon as he felt the opportunity for his real attack, he immediately went forward for the victory. Kim was trying to put all his strength and power into his punch and demonstrate that he was no longer a beginner. Seeing this, the girl got scared. She felt the strength of the opponent and realized that she could get into trouble. Kim delivered his decisive blow. His CI energy was incredible, as if he were Thanos. With the last of her strength, Kira defended herself. And a few seconds later, when the glow of energy disappeared, she could not understand what had happened. As it turned out, the guy is still really too weak for serious fights with professional hunters. He lost this fight and his mouth was bleeding. He admitted his defeat and said he would definitely take revenge. The girl told him that she was a B-class hunter and that it would take many years of hard training to defeat such an opponent. Kim said that the difference between him and a professional hunter is that he still has everything ahead of him. He looked at his phone and saw how much his progress had increased and his training had not been in vain. After realizing this, he suggested that the girl practice a few more times before the competition, as it would be very useful for him. Although Kira thought it was strange to continue training after serious injuries, she promised to do it with him every night. She also said that if he could win this competition between the Mai, he would receive a lot of money as a gift. She said that this money would be enough for a long Ina spear, and he was very interested. He immediately started asking when the tournament would take place, and showing that he was very interested in it. Kira replied that there were still 2 weeks before the start, and Kim realized that he had no time to sit around because he had to train. He started doing various exercises with weights again, and she started looking at him like a fool again. She still couldn't understand what he was doing and thought it was some kind of problem with his brain. Maybe he fell on his head a lot as a child. 2 weeks passed, and the day of the competition came, and last year's winner also participated, as did a large number of other fighters. A guy named Chin arrived on time and saw the venue of the tournament. He didn't expect so many people. Although the Awakened have become more numerous, it is rare to see hunter-hunter battles, so this tournament will show a real spectacle. He went inside the building and found a waiting room. The guy was nervous and tried not to show it. When he saw his future rivals, he was really scared and couldn't move like a post. All of his future rivals were wearing expensive armor and the latest weapons, and they looked like real professionals. All of them looked very strong, which was not surprising because the academy send their best students to these competitions. Suddenly, he saw an unknown soldier with an old weapon and a simple tracksuit among them. Chin couldn't believe that a village boy had come to such a serious competition. He would probably lose immediately and go to the hospital. He thought that this poor guy had been forced to participate in the competition, and he was looking at the turned-off phone like a blind man. Chin didn't understand why this guy decided to take part in the competition. It would be better for him to go home right away. The guy thought that this poor peasant was like a new student in the classroom. He didn't know anyone and was trying to pretend to play on the phone. It seems that these 2 young men both came to the competition without support and do not know anyone around them. They looked into each other's eyes, and Kim decided to say hello and introduce himself. Chin told us his name and said that he was 19 years old and had been awakened since birth. Chin asked if he could sit next to Kim, and the guy agreed, and it looks like a real friendship is emerging before our eyes. Chin pointed to a large hunter and said that he was Chuck, a promising warrior from the God-Tier Academy. He fights with an axe, and his best skill is to show strength and cruelty. At that moment, he was in conflict with another soldier named Lee from the Mint Military Academy in the west of the city. While Chun was telling all this, Kim was looking at him in surprise and did not understand why he needed all this information. While the guys were talking, a real conflict was brewing that could have started a bloody massacre. Another young talent, Wong, a student of the Revenant Force called Academy, intervened in this conflict. As soon as Wong started talking, everyone else fell silent, because he is the favorite of the tournament, and everyone knows that he will easily win. Chun said that Wong was invited by a large number of top Mais, and all the professors want to teach such a gifted student. The reason is unknown, but he refused. Probably he was very confident in his abilities because even the granddaughter of the Star Sword invited him to visit. Wong was unhappy that he was forced to participate in these competitions and fight these weaklings, all because of his uncle. The boy thought that winning such a tournament would not bring him recognition. If he had known that it would happen like this, he would have agreed to join the Star Sword Granddaughter Academy. He refused her offer because it was an unknown academy, although he could have used Kier and then gotten rid of her. Suddenly, he saw that someone was watching him, and he was surprised because he had never seen people in tracksuits at such competitions. Kim was surprised that Kira invited this guy to her academy and wanted to get a fight against him. At that moment, a judge entered the room and said that the first stage of the competition between the Mais would begin soon. The students began to warm up and prepare for the upcoming tests, and Chin was visibly nervous. Over the past couple of weeks, Kim hasn't seen much change in his progress, but the training and lectures have helped him in any case. Compared to the others, he has little experience, but he tries to make up for it by training in the dungeon and competing with Kira. He was preparing for the competition and said that he didn't care whether it was a human or a monster in front of him because he would destroy them all. Soon the first stage will begin, and Kira will see that she was right to invite him to her academy. He was ready to do everything to earn a lot of money for winning this tournament, and the first stage was underway. This year the stadium was packed with spectators, all of whom wanted to watch the future professionals. There were all kinds of people at the stadium, including very wealthy and influential businessmen and ordinary industrial workers. On their way to their seats, the man and woman bumped into each other, and at first it seemed like an accident. This man's name was Sunday. He told his friend that this woman was very familiar to him and asked what the first stage of the competition would be like. His friend explained that there would be a race in a maze, and during this stage, you can't attack other people. The main task is to get out of the maze. Although this is a 4th level competition, it's unlikely to be that easy, and there will likely be a lot of monsters to defeat. This will be a kind of test to see if the participants have the necessary skills to raid the dungeon. This year, we have a really strong lineup of participants, so the fight should be life and death. On the screen, the audience watched. The same legendary warrior, whose name was Wong, appeared. The audience immediately recognized him. Everyone believed that he was on a different level and could easily defeat all the other participants. It looks like our old friends were among the spectators. It was Kira who disguised herself and tried to blend in with the crowd. She saw Wong's face on the screen and started to worry. She didn't know that he would be participating in these competitions between them eyes. She was also worried that someone would notice and recognize her, as she is the granddaughter of the legendary Star Sword. Kim, meanwhile, wasted no time in warming up for the first stage of the competition. Although he looked funny and didn't know how to get out of this maze, his ambitions were no less than the tournament favorite. He remembered the lectures of his professors and thought that it was a good idea to use the power of Tai to break the walls of the maze. Walking a few dozen meters ahead, he saw that he had several options for continuing his journey. The guy thought that he should work according to the main rule, i.e., to go with one side to the very end. He was not sure that this plan would work, but he had no other choice. Suddenly, he felt strange feelings. It seemed that instead of sticking to the left side of the maze, he should go to the other side. Perhaps this is the same sixth sense of intuition that Chiron told him about in his lecture. He wasn't sure it would work, but he decided to trust his intuition and take a chance. Along the way, he heard an announcement that some participants were being eliminated from the tournament, as if they were competing with monsters. This seemed strange to him because he had not met anyone or fought with anyone during his entire journey today. Only later did he think that perhaps his intuition was helping him to find a path without demons. So, if he studied all the lectures, he would be able to look forward to the future. At least he hoped so. His new friend Sean was nearby, and he told him to be careful because there could be monsters everywhere. Despite the fact that the competition had already begun, Chen was still very nervous and did not know where to go. When he heard that Kim was going at random, he started shouting and said that this plan could lead to bad consequences. He offered his method of left and right hand, but Kim said it was better to trust his intuition. He still couldn't understand why Sean was following him and suggested that they split up. Yang said that they were brothers in adversity and should stick together. And looking at Kim, he thought they were very similar. Kim hadn't heard anything dumber than that in a long time and thought he'd found someone as crazy as he was. He decided to make an exception for his new friend and show him something really incredible. Chen was touched. He thanked his friend and showed him a photo of his younger sister. Kim called her very beautiful and started to run away, but it wasn't as simple as he thought. Chun said that they should stick together because it would be suicide to travel alone in such a dangerous place. Kim decided to ask him if his parents and sister had come to watch the tournament and support him. The answer was very unexpected. The guy said that his parents had died a long time ago, and he had no one left except his sister. Kim immediately realized that their lives were very similar. He had also lost his parents a long time ago and felt alone in this cruel world. Chun said that it was a long time ago. His younger sister is still young and cannot come to support him in the competition. After that, Kim felt that they were real brothers in misfortune. So, he offered him to go through the maze together, but he immediately warned me that they were not one team, and since it was an individual competition, he would win the main prize. After these words, Kim confidently walked forward and told his new friend to keep up with him. Yang was surprised that Kim had no doubts at all and chose the future path without even thinking. Kim continued to trust his intuition and go where it told him to go. But this sense of intuition also needs to be trained because after 10 minutes, the intuition led both guys to a dead end. At first glance, he should have turned around and walked back. But Kim continued to trust his sixth sense and realized that there might be a door in the wall. This door led to the finish line. The guys were the first to come here and more than doubled the previous record. The audience was surprised. Everyone thought that Wong would be the winner, not some hillbilly with his cowardly friend. Kira was even more surprised when she saw that her only student had won the first stage of the competition. At this point, Kim didn't show any unnecessary emotions. He considered it an unnecessary waste of time because he didn't get any progress for it. On the contrary, Jang was happy. He realized that the meeting with Kim was not accidental, and thanks to him, he took second place. At that time, everyone around us was talking about the winner. He was from Kof Academy, which no one had even heard of before. Everyone thought that Wong would win this task, but he ended up taking only third place, which was considered a disgrace for him. While Kim was watching the lectures on his phone, Wong walked over to take a personal look at his competitor. Kim didn't understand why he was looking at him like that and what he was trying to say. Maybe there was going to be a fight, but everything ended up being much easier than he thought. and after a short pause, Wong calmly turned around and walked away. Other participants believed that Kim was just lucky. Without luck, an unknown student from an unknown academy could not win this competition. When everyone was discussing the winner, a guy walked into the room and asked everyone to be quiet because he was going to tell them about the second stage of the competition. He said that in the second stage, the participants would have to fight each other, and if one of them could not continue, the judge would stop the fight. 32 students are left in the second stage, so there will be 5 rounds where the participants will decide the strongest. The guys began to wait for the judge to announce their future opponents, and Chun was visibly nervous and tried not to show it. Suddenly, everyone heard that one of the participants approached the judge and asked to be removed from the competition, and no one understood this decision. Kira was still at the stadium waiting for the second stage of the competition, and she was happy that no one had realized who she really was. She tried not to show her face to anyone and stay in the shadows until the second stage began. She heard that instead of 32 participants in the tournament, only 5 remained. All the others refused to participate in the second stage. She realized that these men were betting on a winner and that Wong was the main favorite, but he had small odds. The men said that no sane person would bet on anyone but Wong. It was after these words that an unknown person in a raincoat approached and said that he was betting $100,000 on Kim's victory. Kira was watching all this time. She didn't understand who else could believe in this newcomer. She tried to look more closely, but could not see the face of this mysterious person. Kim didn't even realize that there were people who believed in his victory. He was bored and wanted to start fighting as soon as possible. He was very surprised to see the participants approaching the judge and refusing to continue participating in the competition one by one. Chen told him that in 4th level tournaments, this happens a lot and the same people almost always win. Everyone was afraid that if they started fighting with Wong, they would be disabled, so they refused to participate in the competition. Besides this champion, there were other serious rivals and no one wanted to be live meat for them. That's why most of the participants refused to continue fighting. Their health is more important. In this strange way, only 5 participants remained in the tournament to compete for the first place. Soon, a judge came into the room and said that the first match would be Kim versus Chun is very unlucky. He will have to compete with the main favorite of the competition, Wong. Young Master Lee from a Min Academy won an automatic victory and advanced to the next stage. Kim was wondering after winning the first stage, if he made it to the final, would it be enough to win the tournament? At this time, Chun was trembling with fear. His fight against the main favorite of the tournament would soon begin. Kim asked him not to worry. The fight hadn't started yet, and he already considered himself defeated, and that's not right. Because of this fear, Chun even thought about giving up on further competitions, but decided to try. The referee asked the fighters to get ready and come out for the first fight, and Kim got up and confidently walked forward. At the last moment, Chun stopped him, took him by the hand, and asked him if he was really not worried at all. Kim replied that he was absolutely confident in his abilities and was only concerned about how much experience he would gain from this fight. Of course, Young did not understand what this meant, but Kim was not going to explain anything and went to the arena. The second stage of the 63rd Academy tournament is about to begin, and only the strongest participants are left. The new record holder of the maze race, a young and promising talent, Kim, will be the first to fight. But it's not going to be easy for him because his opponent is a real killing machine, the giant with the axe, Chuck. This giant was absolutely sure that he would defeat this unknown opponent and reach the final of the tournament. A few seconds later, the judge officially started the first match of the second stage and ordered the students to start fighting. As Chuck for God Academy ran forward, Kim was still standing still and not moving. His new friend was watching the fight on TV, and he was very worried not only for himself, but also for Kim. He realized that in addition to his friend fighting a real monster, he himself would soon enter the arena. He respected his opponent and decided to fight to the very end, no matter what, in case he could win. Wong and Chuck are representatives of well-known and large mice, and it will be a real challenge for anyone to beat them. While Chun was thinking about what he would do in a fight against this monster, the first fight in the arena ended in a few seconds. As it became known, a guy from an unknown Maria Academy, Kim, won this quick fight. Seeing this, Wong said that garbage belongs with garbage. And looking at Chun, he said that this also applies to him. He tried to break the guy down emotionally before he entered the arena. A clever trick of an experienced warrior. The first fight in the arena was unusual. The favorite of the fight immediately began to attack and try to take his opponent's head off. He tried to show his incredible strength, but Kim calmly and confidently defended himself, showing that it was nothing for him. The unknown master showed miracles of defense. He dodged his opponent's blows like Neo from the movie The Matrix. Chuck was very surprised and did not understand why his powerful attacks did not work. He was not as confident as before. He decided to do what the masters of the God-Tier Academy had taught him, to strike the green dragon. But something incredible happened. The unknown master used his ordinary spear to defend himself against this powerful blow. The powerful axe slipped out of Chuck's hands and flew away. So, it seems that the green dragon's blow is not as scary as they say. In a few seconds, the bodybuilder was on the ground and the referee stopped the fight. So, everyone saw a real sensation. Oddly enough, instead of being incredibly happy and excited, the winner looked upset and unhappy. He didn't see much progress on the phone and was upset because he thought that defeating Chuck would bring him more true power. Upset, he returned to the waiting room and decided to win the competition to buy himself a new spear. He was immediately met by Chun, who was very energetic and said that he had watched the fight and was pleasantly surprised. As they were talking, the judge came into the room and said that the participants of the second fight should get ready to enter the arena. When Chun saw Wong get up, he became even more worried and thought about running away. Chun came closer to his friend and said that he felt the kinship of their souls and believed that their meeting was not accidental. When Kim won his battle, Jang rejoiced as if it were his own victory. But he's not as strong and powerful as his friend. He's not as lucky, and he doesn't have the same talent as Kim. But he is ready to fight to the last drop of blood just to make his little sister proud. The boy ran into this huge arena and prepared to fight against a martial arts master. Wong looked furious. He didn't like his opponent. He thought he was a weakling. He did not like many things. He considered it a great shame to participate in such a tournament and fight against such a pathetic student. At this point, Chin did not answer anything and remained calm, preparing for battle. Soon after, the judge finished the last preparations and told both guys that they could start the battle to reach the final E. Wong looked at his opponent as if he were prey, useless garbage that lives only to be eaten. He believed that Chun was at the very bottom of the food chain and that a predator like him should eat him. He believed that Chun was lucky to be at these competitions and needed to be shown his true place. Wong believed that he should have won the first stage because he was a head above all these bastards. Chun wasn't going to give up easily. He knew he had to set an example for his sister. So, he drew his sword and prepared for battle. The example of his new friend inspired the boy. He believed in himself and decided that he could also beat the favorite. That is why when the referee announced the start of the fight, he threw the first punch. One managed to defend himself and launched a counterattack, his sword almost beheading Chun. As always, Wong lived up to expectations and continued to attack with his wild tiger technique. He thought he had to defeat this disabled man in less than a minute and send him to the hospital. He struck a strong blow to the opponent's stomach. Chin's mouth bled and his glasses fell to the floor. The guy thought he couldn't win because they were on completely different levels, like a beginner fighting a professor. Chin really wanted his sister to be proud of him, but was there absolutely nothing he could do? At this difficult moment, he thought that he wanted to become as strong as Kim and defeat all his enemies. It seems that these thoughts had a positive effect on him because he gathered all his courage and got to his feet to continue the fight. Chin thought that he should strike at least one more blow so that he would not be ashamed to return home. He swung his sword to try to touch his opponent at least a little. A few seconds later, the entire crowd in the stadium began to go wild and scream with satisfaction. They got what they came for. Unfortunately, Chin did not succeed, and Wong easily defeated him and reached the final of the Academy competition. The fans weren't even surprised. They believed that Chun was not up to the level to fight against real masters. But as it turned out, this weak guy still achieved his personal goal. He inflicted a small wound on Wong, and his cheek bled. No one around appreciated it except for one little girl who watched the competition at home on TV and was proud of her brother. A few seconds later, the martial artist's wounded face was shown all over the stadium. Everyone wondered if this warrior was not as powerful as everyone thought and did not belong to the elite. Wong approached the judge and loudly said that he was leaving the tournament and would not compete anymore. He then approached his opponent and kneed him in the head. He started shouting that this tournament was created for the disabled, which is why there will never be any fighters above the 4th level here again. He didn't care that he could be disqualified for saying that. He thought he was right. Stepping on Chin's head, he said that these cockroaches should realize where they belong. Suddenly, something happened that no one expected. There was a warrior who decided to take revenge for Chun. It was Kim. He started attacking Wong and said that their battle was fate and Wong would not escape from it. Kim promised to beat him so badly that even the best surgeons in the city would not be able to put all his bones back together. He ordered him to immediately remove his foot from his friend's head, apologize, and promise to never hurt the weak again. Wong replied that he liked to do it and was not going to listen to unknown guys from the village. After these words, Kim used force and pushed Wong. Whether it worked or the opponent did not expect it. It was a very emotional moment, and Kim picked up his friend to make sure he was still alive. Wong said that they were acting like girls and explained that they were not worthy of competing in such competitions. This conflict was closely watched by thousands of spectators who gathered in this arena today. Nothing like this had ever happened at such competitions before, and people were surprised and did not understand why the judge did not intervene in this situation. But as it turned out, the judges were ordered not to interfere and to observe, and it seems that a mysterious person in a cloak was involved again. Of course, Kira was watching. She was very worried about her student and hoped that it would all be over soon. Wong said that this world is arranged in such a way that without talent, a person cannot achieve anything. To succeed, you have to go head-to-head. According to him, there is no place for dreams in the world, and there are only those who achieve their goals and losers. Kim listened carefully to these words and realized that he had thought the same way many years ago. All these 9 terribly long years when he endured everything to become a hunter and constantly faced a cruel reality. He hated himself for having neither money nor talent. He hated his helplessness. His work helped him only to survive, but he could not achieve anything more. He asked himself hundreds of times how his life would have turned out if he had decided to give up and chosen a different path. There's probably nothing more pathetic than clinging to something that cannot be achieved through hard work. He constantly lived in fear and doubted himself, which is how most people get depressed. He said that he looked at Wong and asked him what he would say to that. Even though the judge tried to stop him, he took out his spear and ran to attack, forgetting the rules. At that moment, thousands of spectators held their breath. As the conclusion of this incredible competition was approaching, his opponent didn't move and just smiled, thinking it was a joke because he was much stronger than Kim. A battle of 2 worlds began. Incredible natural talent versus hard work and discipline. Kim was determined and was not going to take a single step back. He attacked, tried to remember everything he had learned from Kier and the professors at the Cultivators Academy. The spectators at the stadium thought that the competition was over and that real gladiatorial fights had begun. Kim felt the strength and power of his opponent. No wonder he was so overconfident and arrogant. In his previous fight against Chuck from the Katuri Academy, he had no doubt about his victory. But now everything is different. Kim realized that now was not the time to think about it. He had to relax, trust his inner feelings, and go with the flow. Surprisingly enough, these simple and clear rules immediately helped him, and he dealt a powerful blow to his opponent. Anyone else would have fallen to the ground and started crying from this blow, but Kim is fighting a real master today. The judge was shouting at the boys. He said they would both be disqualified and never allowed to compete again, but they didn't listen to him. Wong thought of himself as a predator at the top of the food chain, but when he looked at Kim, he realized that he also had the eyes of a true predator. He found it quite funny and interesting, but decided to prove that there was only one true predator in this arena. He approached his opponent and told him that nothing would remain of his dream when he faced the cruel reality. The battle of the 2 titans continued, and the audience was happy and satisfied to see such a Hollywood action. So far, Kim has been trying to defend himself and do his best to block his enemy's sword blows. The battle had been going on for a long time, and it was not clear who would eventually win. No one deserved to be defeated. It began to seem that with each successful defense against the opponent's attacks, Kim was getting stronger and stronger. At these moments, he looked like a real monster that grew at a frantic pace when he saw his prey. They dealt each other powerful blows, and each of them felt the strength of the other. Wong stopped underestimating Kim and realized that he was also a true martial artist. That's why he thought it was time to use heavy artillery and end this battle. Kim was surprised. He hadn't been able to control his mana yet, and that's why it was a serious problem for him. He thought that the best option for him was to run away, but for some reason, his legs did not obey him. He thought that if he ran away now, he would betray everything he had learned and betray himself. At that moment, General Bulk spoke to him and told him that he had a similar situation when he was surrounded by the army of the Min Kingdom. There were 10 times more opponents, but he still didn't run away and started fighting because he realized that he had already lost and that he couldn't change it. That was the first time he felt real despair. Defeat scared him even more than death. But he started attacking and fighting the enemy anyway, because even if everything points to defeat, you have to fight and believe in victory to the end. Even with the power of a mountain, no one can win forever. So it was through defeat that Bulg became a hegemonic king. And now he gives Kim rock-breaking strength and a spirit that can turn the whole universe upside down. He told you that he is a predator and Kim is his prey, and he will wipe his feet on him after he wins. But Kim didn't listen to these words. He believed his master and confidently went on to win. Each of them was absolutely sure that he was the top of the food chain and that he would win. Although the judges tried to stop them, This train had long since reached maximum speed, and until it encounters something else, it cannot be stopped, no matter how hard anyone tries. After these two energies collided, an explosion of bright light occurred in the arena, and the audience was amazed. These special effects will be the envy of even the best Hollywood superhero movies. The audience held their breath and waited to see who won, good or evil. Only a few seconds later, when everything became clearer, everyone saw that Wong was lying on the floor coughing up blood. So, the one who had no natural talents and lived in poverty won thanks to incredible desire and discipline. It was a truly epic finale to this battle, with a standing ovation for the winners and the loser. Most of them shouted the winner's name out loud, and the boy was pleased to hear it. Kira was delighted. 2 weeks ago, he could barely block her punch, and now, he was using the aura himself. Among the happy crowd, she noticed a mysterious person in a black cloak. This person was also incredibly surprised by the outcome of this story. It turned out to be a young man. He was so surprised as if Kim had broken the laws of the universe and become a god before his eyes. It was strange to see his sincere surprise because he had bet a lot of money on Kim's victory. The girl wanted to approach him and talk about it, but this youngster mysterious guy had already left. Soon after, these legendary competitions ended and Kim went home for a fair rest. He was exhausted and felt pain in almost every part of his body, but it was worth it. The only downside was that he was officially disqualified for violating the competition rules. He was warned about the consequences, but he did not listen to anyone and beat a student who had already left the competition. For his behavior, Wong was also disqualified from future competitions. He enhanced his sword with an aura, which is considered an attempted murder, and the Hunters Association will ban him from taking the exam for the next 5 years. Lee automatically became the winner. Chun took the second place, and Chuck took the third place. Thanks to these competitions, Kim's experience increased, which is probably why he was able to use the power of the mountain. To speed up his progress, he decided to enroll in another course at the academy. At that moment, Kira caught up with him, still dressed as if to hide her identity. She asked him how he was feeling and whether he had suffered any severe injuries because the fight had been tough. Kim said that everything was fine. He may not look weak, but he is actually a tough nut to crack. The guy was upset because he felt that he was close to winning, and if he hadn't broken the rules, he would now be considered a champion. The girl began to calm him down and said that it was not the most important thing. He had gained experience and showed everyone his own strength, and that was the main thing. Only after these words did the guy remember that his main goal at this competition was not a trophy, but money. He was upset because he realized that now it would be difficult for him to buy Longus's spear, and he would have to find money to continue his studies. Although he was upset, he realized that if he had not intervened and protected Chun, he would have regretted it for the rest of his life. Kira assured him that money could not be the main goal in life and said that he would be fine in the future. While they were talking, another guy hurried up to them. Judging by his clothes, it was Chun. He had noticed him a long time ago, but he couldn't walk any faster because his whole body was sore from the last battle. He asked Kim to wait and asked him if he could be as strong if he was disciplined in his training. It was a difficult question, and Kim thought for a few seconds to find the right words. Chun looked closely into his eyes and waited. Even though he was badly beaten and his spirit was not broken, Kim explained that it would be very difficult. And to be honest, it's hard to become a professional hunter without talent. Of course, they say that you can achieve anything if you work hard, but the world is cruel and you can't go far with just dreams. Kim said that you shouldn't focus on becoming a hunter because you can find another job and be happy. These words really helped the guy. He said that he did not want to upset anyone and only came to say goodbye. Kim asked him not to let anyone tell him what to do and to always listen to his heart. Because Chun has no talent, he will constantly be told that he will not be able to achieve his goals and will fail. But the opinions of these people should not worry him and become a reality for him. Kim also said that if he wants to achieve something, he has to do it no matter what, even if the whole world is against you. He promised to come visit Chun and his younger sister sometime in the future and said goodbye. Kira was listening to this emotional speech all the while and was pleasantly surprised. It seems her only student is a real motivator. The girl encouraged him and told him that he now had a new fan, and that was worth a lot. Kira also thought that she had missed a good opportunity to invite him to her academy. Meanwhile, the tired Kim turned around and went home to rest and get a good night's sleep. Kira caught up with him and told him that he had done very well in these competitions and deserved to receive a new spear, which could be considered a scholarship to the academy. While they were looking for a good store with weapons for cultivators, an interesting conversation took place outside the city. A man in a suit came to a large and wealthy house and said that he needed to speak to the master immediately. He said that it was urgent, but despite the fact that the master was meditating, he came into his room. This man's name was Simon. He was the right hand of the Star Sword, and it was to him that I came now. The master was unhappy to be distracted from his meditation and began to shout at his assistant. He immediately cast a spell of incredible pressure, so Simon couldn't even move. With the last of his strength, he was able to say that Kira had participated in the Academy's tournament, and the master was immediately interested. He promised the master that they would soon find out about everything and tell him all the information. The only thing that is known now is that Kerr has a new student, an unknown guy with high potential. Simon offered to help and said that he could solve all these problems himself without the help of unnecessary people. But Master Bond replied that this was not necessary because he had to see the person whom his granddaughter decided to teach. The next day, after a good rest, Kim immediately started training with a spear. He was performing his daily task and did not even realize that he was being watched at that moment. It was Kira. The girl again didn't understand what he was doing because she didn't give him a task to train in the morning. She still didn't understand why it had taken him so long to choose a new spear yesterday and finally decided to stick with the old one. The guy replied that he didn't think he was worthy of such expensive gifts and that's why he decided to refuse. But in fact, after seeing the weapons created by cultivators, he cannot look at anything ordinary. The girl was upset. She promised to give him a gift and was ready to pay any money to make him happy. Forgetting about it, she decided to ask about his strange mana boosting technique he used yesterday. She personally saw him destroying monsters and winning competitions with this technique, which is probably a Heil technique. Kira had never seen him practice mana power, which was not surprising since Kim didn't know any such techniques. The mana amplification technique is a technique that allows you to use mana in the most efficient way. There are many different types of this technique depending on the effectiveness. It is divided into lower and higher class techniques. Every hunter has their own mana boosting technique, which is why Kim wanted to go to the academy to learn it. He asked the girl to teach him the technique of mana amplification of the Star Sword, but she said that her grandfather forbade it. This was not surprising because if my grandfather had not forbidden it, there would have been hundreds of students at this academy. Kim realized that a hunter cannot become a professional without this technique, and in his last fight, he felt how important it was. Realizing that he didn't have much free time, he decided to take a course to strengthen his mana technique. When Kira saw that Kim was not listening to her at all, she was offended, turned around, and walked away. She said that she had urgent business, and as soon as he finished,